you like this episode, please subscribe, share with others, rate and review so we can continue to bring you great programming.
This is The Thing About Cars, a podcast for car enthusiasts and the people who love them.
Hello and welcome. This is The Thing About Cars. Around the table we have just us guys today. So Dave, how are you, sir?
I am well, thank you.
Excellent. And Ben?
I'm pretty damn great. How about you?
I am fantastic. And our special guest for today, Liam Irwin. Liam is an Atlanta native. Am I right, Liam?
Covington native. So.
Okay, Covington.
Close enough.
Just to the east, yes.
Sure.
Well, people in Covington may take exception to that, Ben.
Right. Sorry, Covington.
Yeah. Having gone to school nearby Covington, it was there was some local spirit, let's just say.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So our Grand Trivia Auto question for the day. Ben, have you got something for us today?
Yes, I do. As soon as
Excellent.
I click on the right window here, yes. Okay, which car brand was the first to be acquired by a new company called General Motors? Was it Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, or Oldsmobile?
Huh.
Yeah, so this is way back in history a bit, obviously, since we're referring to a new company called General Motors.
Right. So was it Chevrolet, Buick, Oldsmobile, and which was the fourth one?
Cadillac.
Cadillac. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a hard one.
That is a hard one.
Mm-hmm.
We will answer that at the end of the show.
Yep.
I'll be thinking about that the entire time. Let's turn the table to our friend Liam. Liam, what's life like? Are you still in Covington, first of all?
No, right now I'm in school at University of Georgia in Athens.
Okay. Very cool.
Go Dogs.
You don't sound too,
No, it's fun. It's great. We love it. It's great.
Sorry. I don't know why that makes me laugh. That makes me laugh.
The perfunctory SEC cheer out of the way. Let's move on.
Yeah. Don't snipe me if I don't.
Right. Right. So Athens is a great town. I'm sort of jealous that you're there. And like I said before, I was in school close to Covington, and Covington's actually a cool little place. Covington Square is kind of nice.
It is nice. It's really busy now. A lot of the filmmakers and movie makers come down there. For a minute, everyone called it the Hollywood of the South, which, every little town is calling themselves the Hollywood of the South.
Right.
But
Covington's claim to fame, or at least once upon a time, was that they filmed the opening credits to Dukes of Hazzard there, at least part of it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they did.
Right.
And we actually just recently, in the past month, acquired a giant Dukes of Hazzard mural on one of the buildings in the town square. Boss Hogg is there, and the General Lee, and the cop car, and so it's like we know what we are.
Right. Sure. You never forget your roots. That's right. That's fantastic. So our good friend Robert Drake referred you to us, and that's how we originally met. We've been playing tag with each other for a number of weeks now. I'm glad we finally get to catch up. But why do you think Robert wanted you to be a guest on the show?
Because like Robert, he recognizes insanity. So, which I sort of am. So, he ropes me into the field of theater work and technical work for that. But my hobbies outside of which are tinkering vehicles and pointing out and naming vehicles that I see and being a nerd about it and annoying everyone.
So one of us, basically.
Exactly.
I used to do theater tech myself, so I can relate.
Yeah, right.
Liam, welcome to the mothership.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So first question I have, and then I hope the others will chime in with their questions. What are you currently driving, and what are you currently tinkering on?
Oh, God. Well, it's a little complicated. I'm sure you understand. So today I've been driving my 99 Range Rover P38, which I got a while ago. And you might think, oh, it's not really a cool car, but it has enough problems. I think it classifies as an old classic thing that normal people wouldn't want to drive. It's plush and comfortable, and I find myself on the British side of the world. I have a 76 Jaguar XJ12 that I'm working on.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So Ben, you'll find is a fellow Anglophile.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I at this point, I feel sort of duty bound to tell one of my favorite British car jokes. Ben has heard this a billion times from me, but I'm going to ask you, Liam, why don't the British make computers?
Because they haven't figured out how to make them leak.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
You thought you would give me with that one. Oh, I know it. I know it. You know who told me that one?
Who told you that one?
It was a sheriff deputy at a gas station. I was checking the oil in my Range Rover. We were at a long trip, and he moseys on over to me. He said, "Why do the British never make computers?" I don't know why. I haven't figured out how to make them leak.
What are the 3 positions on a Lucas headlight switch?
I actually have that sticker, dim flicker off.
Yep.
I have a bumper sticker, a vintage bumper sticker with that printed on it.
So, Liam, why British cars?
I don't know. I think the story of British Leyland specifically is just this fantastic story of failure. But they produced beautiful things. I mean, you can't really argue. I mean, British cars of the era from back when they were super popular, they had some really sweet designs, and they were very elegant. They were very, very British. And then everyone went on strike all the time, and they were like, we want more money. And then the stories go, they would quit production on a car when the bell rang, and then someone else would pick it up the next day and not really know where someone was working on it, and mess everything up. And cars were sold to people with the horn blowing every time you turn the headlights on, and all this crazy kind of stuff, which you could think, how did this happen? I don't know. I just like their quirkiness, I suppose.
That's cool. I mean, everyone, not everyone has logic behind their preferences, and I just thought I'd ask just in case.
Being somebody who is married to someone English, if you enjoy the quirkiness of the cars, try marrying the British.
I'm sure. I mean, you see the culture through it, I suppose. Not to be slacking on British people here.
So, do you tinker a lot? Would you call yourself a shade tree mechanic or something else?
Yeah, I suppose I would. I mean, I have moved a little past shade tree. Well, I don't have a shop here in Athens. I have a driveway. So that is a shade tree, but I do have a little ramshackle shop that I built years ago. It's 18 by 18 feet, holds 2 cars. It's actually my Zoom background picture where you see my other vehicle here, which is a 90 Dodge Omni.
I was going to say that's a Dodge or a Mitsubishi. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little shop, and kind of a dirt floor on one side, and then I found a quarry conveyor belt that I cut in half, and that's my floor. It's very ramshackle, but it works.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm still jealous. Yeah.
Well, we got to make things work somehow.
Right. So when you're not working on your Jaguar or your Range Rover, what are your general preferences? Is that Dodge still with you, for instance? Or I mean,
it is. It's in my driveway right now, and this Dodge actually was my COVID project when we were all in lockdown. I bought this thing for $900, and it was a total granny edition, 3-speed automatic. I did drive it daily through Atlanta a bunch when I used to go to school at Kennesaw, and it was okay. Odometer didn't work, air conditioning, no, it didn't work. It was just a little Econobox, and so over COVID, I said, well, I wanted to put the turbo engine. So I found actually my buddy Corey, whose grandfather's in the movie car business, or was in the movie car business. They have just warehouses full of old Mopars and stuff. And they had a Shelby Daytona engine sitting in a corner. And so we did a partial cash trade for it, and I slapped it in there, and everything else is stock except for the turbo engine, which 170 horsepower back in the 80s is pretty good. Now,
that was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's like, but I'll tell you, this is a sketchy car.
Perfect.
It's sketchy. It's got 80s turbo lag, so you slam your foot down, and then you're like,
Yeah.
And then everything else is stock. So the suspension is from the 80s. It's worn out, never been replaced. So the back end sinks down. The brakes are tiny little disc brakes in the front and drums in the back. And it's scary to drive, but it's fun.
That's hilarious.
Oh, this is great.
My wife drives a 92 Toyota Tercel, and the suspension is still the original suspension. And I'm like, honey, you've got to get that. You don't need to upgrade it, but you at least need to replace it because, it's starting to get kind of sketch itself. But
no, it's funny. It's funny because the Dodge is a small car, but it's got that American car float to it a little bit. So it's
But didn't the Dodge Omni come from a Mitsubishi? Am I thinking of something else?
There some of I think the earliest versions of there's some sort of lineage with the Talbots from Europe. Like the early Dodge bodies were like, if you look like an old Talbot, like a rally car Talbot, they kind of look like Dodge. I mean, they really do look like Dodge Omni. And I think the first engines that were introduced in America was a French engine called it's like Simca engine or something.
Yeah.
Teeny little gasser Econobox. And then the most of their lineage, they did the 2.2 liter, and then later finished off with a 2.5 liter Chrysler engine. So I think it is actually a Chrysler engine. Mitsubishi, I think, did more of the V6s, the early V6s.
Back in the late 80s, late 80s, I worked for a Chrysler dealership, and I swear I'm remembering something where the Mitsubishi Mirage was relabeled, rebadged for Dodge or rebadged for Chrysler, and I'm trying to remember what that was all about. It wasn't a cult. There was,
I feel like it may have been like the De Tomaso, or there's articles that say that it is a Mitsubishi engine, but all the stuff I found for the engine that I have in mind now was Chrysler's design. I'm sure they were still in bed with Mitsubishi at that point.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
But I think the cult was Mitsubishi, just bare bones cult. I mean, they didn't even call it a Dodge. I think Plymouth, it was a Plymouth.
Like the Dodge Stealth, or was the Dodge?
The Stealth was Mitsubishi. The Stealth was a Mitsubishi.
Right.
They super complicated, crazy.
And they each had a version of it. Yeah, there was the Stealth and the 3000 GT.
The 3000 GT was the Mitsubishi Starion.
Yes.
I don't think so. The Starion was an earlier design, a little more square. Stealth and 3000 were practically the same car, just some cosmetic differences.
Okay.
You know I'm looking this up, right?
Well, I'm confused now. I mean,
because nothing makes compelling podcasting like Googling.
Exactly.
Especially, exactly right. Forgotten cars like that.
You're wrong. I'm going to look it up right now.
So I'll put money on this, Ben. I will say that the Starion and the 3000 GT are the same car.
Because Chrysler and Mitsubishi each had their own version of it, though. So
yep, the Mitsubishi Starion and the Chrysler 3000 GT.
Nope.
Sorry. You're right. I owe you. You're absolutely right. I completely short-circuited here. I owe you dinner, Ben.
No, you don't.
I can't say money. I can't say there is money to say that a Dodge Omni and a Plymouth Horizon are the same car. So that
yes, very much so.
Good stuff. All right, Liam. So in the world of, and this is my last question for you. I don't know if the others have questions for you or not, but my last question for you is as you look at the automotive landscape these days, the future of cars, the history of cars, the whole shebang, what's mostly on your mind in the world of automotive topicality these days? What bugs you? What really turns your crank? What makes you excited, et cetera, et cetera? It's a big question, I know.
No, it's not, because I have an answer.
Oh, okay.
It's they're really built crappy now. I have to say, some of the cars I sound like an old cantankerous old man when I say, they don't make them like they used to. Mm-hmm. No, I'm going to take that with a grain of salt. Some things are better than what they used to be. Safety equipment, sure. I'm a bus driver for UGA, and we have a fleet of brand new electric buses, super fancy, worth more than me electric buses. And we have still our old fleet of diesel buses. The electric buses are crappy. They rattle, they make noise, they're always breaking. Everything's going wrong with them. They're worth way more than the old diesel buses, obviously, and probably since they're brand new. But you can still take an old diesel bus out, and sorry, Mother Nature, it's an old diesel bus. But they drive better. They don't fall apart. And I've seen a lot of shortcuts and money saving in a lot of new cars, which I think a lot of people are going to be like, damn straight, that's correct. Oh, they don't make them like they used to. And then with the incorporation of safety equipment, that's always a must, and that's always a great thing to have. But, body panels are getting thinner, being replaced with plastic stuff. And my friend got a fancy schmancy new Beamer, super expensive BMW, and I walked up to it and I knocked on the front wheel well, and just plastic, the whole thing made out of plastic. And then the door sounds like a crunchy thing. Everything on the inside sounds crunchy. I don't know. So the build quality, I think, is just kind of, there's a lot of cost cutting there. They might last longer, sure. Maybe only time will tell, I suppose, at this point. But cars just don't feel very solid.
Welcome to the world of capitalism.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
Dave is just smiling.
Am I pleasing anybody here with my thoughts? I'm not sure.
No, I kind of sort of agree with you. On the one hand, I understand why they do that. On the other hand, it's like, with all the stuff that we complain about, can't we put quality back into the equation of how we approach life? And I tend to think about that in much larger terms, like both quality and integrity seem to be missing from our leadership decisions these days. But I mean, that's a whole nother soapbox to get on, so I won't.
And things might change. This is probably how people felt back in the 80s, and they're like, everything's crappy now. And,
probably
just a condition of living in a reality, I suppose.
It is the human condition. Everything turns plastic in the end.
Right.
And in 30 years, you're going to think that the young generation's music sucks.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
It does suck.
We would now like to take this opportunity to tell all our listeners, get off our lawn.
Get off the lawn. All right. So, Liam, I've got 4 questions for you. You ready?
Okay, let's see.
Question number 1. What is your dream car?
A 1968 or 9 Citroen DS.
Wow. That's very specific. Why that?
I like that model. I like those model years. I think that's just when they came out with the headlights that were incorporated to the front rather than the old halogens. Yeah. And they only, of course, in Europe they had the turning ones. The headlights turned with the steering wheel, which was one of their selling points, which was outlawed in America. So if they were shipped here because of our U.S. road laws, they had to put regular sealed beams in there.
And that's right about in the middle of about a 20-year production run, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
But a Citroen is a French thing. It's not a British thing.
Right.
Yeah, French thing, which is arguably, maybe not arguably, but far quirkier than the French stuff or the British stuff.
We could devote another whole show to that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, Ben, I interrupted you a second ago. What were you saying?
No, that's okay. I was going to say, if you want one from those years with the European turning headlights, you are completely free to import that. One, because it's more than 25 years old, so it's not subject to a lot of U.S. road standard stuff. But also, I think our laws have changed on that a little bit, because I've got a 2013 Mazda that has headlights that move with steering.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, someone was like, this is a stupid outlaw, and then America was like, oh, okay.
We'll adopt it, yep. All right, Liam, question number 2. Where is your next road trip going to be?
Ooh, good. See, I fancy the mountains. I like the mountains, so probably want to find myself making the Smokies at some up there, find the Appalachian Trail, go for a hike and decompress the world. That's been on my thought radar for now.
It's actually a cool thing to do in the fall up in the Smokies.
Oh yeah. It's just the weather's just getting nice to that kind of thing.
Yep, that's right. Question number 3. What's the most fascinating thing you've seen on the road or in someone's garage?
Oh, okay, hold on.
It doesn't have to be a car. It could be a landmark. It could be a person.
Well, I mean, when I was little, I was just infatuated with the idea of the Gaffney peach. I'm sure we've, the Gaffney, South Carolina peach. We're like, whoa, it's a butt on a stick.
Yeah.
I mean, they face it right towards us.
Yes, they did.
So that was a big travel.
It's an inevitable comparison. That's right.
I know.
I think we just found the name for this episode.
Butt on a stick.
There you go.
This is the reason we so rarely do an all-guy show.
I apologize to anyone listening.
No, that's hilarious. But even as a kid, when I drove by that thing, when my family drove by that thing, I looked at it and I thought to myself, "Wait, we're in South Carolina. I thought Georgia was the peach state. Why did these people have a gigantic peach on a water tower or whatever that thing really is?"
Yeah, you get jealous of them. You kind of want to ship it over here and we'll be fine.
Well, and it was at that point that I learned that Georgia calls itself the peach state, but it's not our biggest export. And so,
peanuts or something?
It's peanuts or pecans, I think. I can't remember which one. Yeah.
I believe we are also the #1 blueberry producer, believe it or not.
Oh, no kidding.
That's cool.
Yeah.
See, I would much rather have, the marketing shtick aim towards reality a little bit and just say we're the blueberry state or we're the nut state, which would be fine. We're the nutty state.
But do you really want 42 streets named Blueberry Bush?
I wouldn't mind, but I'm a little bit of a freak.
Blueberry Way, Blueberry Avenue, Blueberry Hill, Blueberry, yes. All right, Liam, last question for you today. This one's completely random and whimsical. If you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends and family assume you had done?
Let's see. They probably would think I have broken onto some property to look at something interesting, like an old house, or maybe to take a few old paintings from an abandoned garage or something. Not that I've done that, of course not.
Trespassing or theft or something like that.
Trespassing, probably be like something.
That's cool.
Or just general rage.
Can they arrest you for that?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose it depends on their mood.
On how you express it,
This man is too angry. Arrest him.
or put him in politics.
Yeah. No, they'd probably arrest me to escort me somewhere somewhere nice, it's like, we need you somewhere else.
All right, Liam, my academic background is in counseling psychology, and we will probably delete this from the episode, but I will ask you as a concerned friend, why are you so angry?
Oh, no, I'm not very angry. It's just, you gotta have an outlet. I don't like the car shows where they throw wrenches and stuff and be all angry at things. But sometimes it feels good if something, especially working on a car, it's not going well. You just kind of want to throw a thing, and then you have to go pick it up. So then, it's
Yep.
I try not to be an angry person, especially. It's an interesting time where you need to have a better outlook on things. And
I didn't mean to steer us down counseling lane, but
no, that's fine.
Yeah, but
I think it's a real thing to have a little bit of sadness or anger now and try to uplift anybody.
Next week on The Thing About Psychoanalysis.
All right, thank you, Liam. Thank you for being our guest today. Please stick around for the rest of the show. Dave's got a segment for us today. Dave's going to do a cultural collision. What have you got for us, Dave?
Well, when you think about the thing about cars and what we talk about, the vast majority of the show rotates around roads, roadsides, garages. And so when you think of us, you probably don't think of the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, but that's where we're going today.
Oh.
Because the Museum of Modern Art in New York City is launching a show this week called Automania. And what they have done, I was watching it this morning, they have brought cars and car-related culture both into the sculpture garden, the Abby Aldrich Rockefeller Sculpture Garden at the museum, and also onto the third floor of the gallery in the Philip Johnson Galleries. And what is so cool about this is it is both an examination of the beauty of automotive design, but also of some of the unique zeitgeist that cars created in the United States. In fact, if I can read a segment from the show pitch, this exhibition addresses the conflicted feelings like compulsion, fixation, desire, and rage that developed in response to cars and car culture in the 20th century. Examining automobiles as both modern industrial products and style icons, it also explores their adverse impact on roads and streets, public health, and the planet's ecosystem. And I was watching this on the news this morning as they were installing it. And specifically, I was watching them lower a Bertoni on a platform into the fountain, basically to straddle the fountain of the sculpture gallery. And I thought this is a really compelling show because it looks at cars themselves as artwork, but it also looks at the artwork that was associated with it over the course of the 8th century. And even some of the related things. One of the things that is in the gallery is, I think, a 1962 Airstream Bambi, because it really looks at, in the 20th century, how cars transformed our approach to life, to culture, and to society, and ultimately, were a centerpiece for most of American culture.
Wow, that sounds like fun.
So my first question is, when are we going?
Well, actually, my partner and I are currently trying to plan a trip to New York, and this got added to the list as we were watching about it this morning. But one of the things that personally is cool in there is one of the vehicles that they're featuring is the original forerunner of the Jeep, the Willys Overland. And little sidebar, during World War II, when my father was overseas, my mother was secretary to the president of Willys Overland. And being, as they were during the war, as they were trying to figure out, okay, we think there may be a market for this company in the future. My mother actually modeled Jeeps. I have pictures of her driving as a 24-year-old young woman out driving a Jeep around Toledo to show, even the little lady could operate it.
That's interesting because my father's mother was that woman after the war when the CJ1 came out. The U.S. public was so hard up for new cars after the war because all the production had been diverted. The Jeep CJ1, or civilian Jeep 1, was one of the first new vehicles brought to market because all they had to do was paint it a different color and put a taillight on it. And my grandparents bought one, and my dad said that my very pretty young grandmother driving that thing to the grocery store was a real sight to see.
So wait, yeah, your grandmother and Dave's mom aren't the same person, are they?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah,
Although grandma was in say Grandma was in Ohio too, just a different part of it.
Yeah, but you will notice how definitive Ben was on the concept of us being related. No,
not that I'd mind if we were.
No. I understand. You're not the first person to renounce a familial relationship with me.
No, Ben's like, I already have too many relatives. So
Yep. So anyway, this show is going to be running at MoMA in New York through January 2nd of 2022. The exhibit in the garden is, I think, only going to run for October 11th, because these are really beautiful cars and you don't want to subject them to the onslaught of a New York winter. Shout out to the Museum of Modern Art for coming up with really a interesting angle on the design of cars.
So now I'm going to see if I can get to New York cheaply enough just to go to MoMA. I'm going to have to check that out. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, good cultural collision. So Dave, you and Gary are going to go for sure?
Probably. We do a theater trip with some other friends every year. It's almost always the first weekend in July. But our 30th anniversary is next month, and cool. We have a history of planning incredible trips on our 10-year marks that fail in epic manner. So rather than try to plan something epic, I'm like, I think I can just sneak us to New York.
I don't know. New York sounds pretty epic, and like I said, I'm hoping I can go. I'm going to see if Jen's schedule will allow it. Maybe we could just sneak up there for a day and come back. I've done a red eye back, to and from New York just for a quick meeting. And that, it is possible. We might be able to fit that in. Thank you, Dave. Good stuff. So let's answer our grand trivia auto question, shall we?
Sounds like fun.
Ben, you want to wrangle us for that?
Yeah. So just to refresh everybody on the question, which car brand was the first to be acquired by a new company called General Motors? Was it Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, or Oldsmobile?
Liam, you go first. You're our guest.
This one I thought I would know. Really tricky. I'm going to go with, my gut wants to say Cadillac, but I want to go Oldsmobile.
I'm in the same camp. I'm going to say Cadillac. Since Liam took Oldsmobile, I'll say Cadillac. For some reason, that's screaming out in my brain.
What do you think, Dave?
It's going to be like Pontiac or something.
Let's go with Chevrolet.
It's not even going to be a choice.
All righty. Well, let's see. The first car brand to be acquired by a new company called General Motors was Buick.
No kidding.
It was Buick.
None of us got it. Oh.
We all failed.
You swept us, Ben.
Yeah, the story is that in 1908, William C. Durant and Charles Stewart Mott established General Motors as a holding company, naming it similarly to General Electric. They kind of liked that theme. The first acquisition was Buick, which had been founded in 1899 and which Durant had owned since 1904. They followed later in 1908 by Oldsmobile, and then in 1909, GM acquired Cadillac, Elmore, Oakland, Reliance Motor Truck Company, and Rapid Motor Vehicle Company. Chevrolet was acquired in 1918, a few years after being co-founded by Durant, who had been fired by GM's board of directors in 1910 for over-leveraging GM's acquisitions, which notably included a failed bid to acquire Ford in 1909. So yeah, a bit of a soap opera with the early days of GM there.
Yeah, they almost got Ford.
Well, when you're buying companies left and right, what do you expect?
Right.
Thank you, Ben.
That story of Ford and the fight for Ford is an epic part of the Ford history.
Oh, yeah.
It fueled some of Ford's paranoia for the rest of his life.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. As long as we're going down the psychoanalysis.
The thing about personality. Thank you, Ben. Good trivia question. Thanks, you guys. Liam, thank you for being our guest today. We hope you'll come back on the show at some point.
So much, yeah.
And do we have any other parting thoughts for our listeners before we go? Anybody?
Just be safe out there.
Yeah,
be safe out there. Next week we will re-inject feminine energy in here, so it's not quite boys in the locker room.
Not quite boys in the locker room. That's right. And in the meantime, if you like the show, please subscribe, rate us on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, wherever it is you find the show. That makes us more searchable to others who are looking for this kind of content. If you have any suggestions or guest ideas for our show, don't be afraid to drop us a line via our Facebook page. That's The Thing About Cars, completely searchable on Facebook. You'll find us and can leave us messages there. In the meantime, like Dave said, like Ben said, be careful, be safe. We will see you with another episode in about a week. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Thing About Cars. We'll see you on the road.